Aloha. Welcome to the Walking in Aloha, Let's Talk Story podcast. We're so glad to have you here. Et como mai. Now here's our podcast host and award-winning author, Michelle.
Welcome to the Walking in Aloha, Let's Talk Story podcast. I am Michelle, MAGEK for short. I am so honored to be joined by Maciah York, co-founder and Chief Growth Officer for DreamTrips International. Maciah's journey began just at 18 years old with one clear intention: to become a leader worth following. From driving hours to late night meetings as a high school athlete in Colorado, to building and leading global organizations across the US, Europe, Japan, and South Korea, to now helping lead the 20-year-old global relaunch of DreamTrips. His story is rooted in consistency, faith, and what he calls rhythm. Grounded in John 3:16, he is a servant leader. He has a mindset of a servant leader, which is so amazing because that is the way that we should be, centered in Christ. Maciah believes success isn't built on hustle alone, but on alignment, unity, and developing people. Welcome, Maciah. Aloha. And before we dive into the Aloha framework, we'd love to give you space to talk story with us. And for those meeting you for the first time, can you share a little bit about your journey and what you're currently building in this season?
Yeah, absolutely. Aloha. I'm here in Houston, Texas. I just had some time out in beautiful Hawaii. So I absolutely love out there. And Michelle, it's so much fun seeing what you're doing in this space and the people you're inspiring. And so thank you for having me on here. Yes, Maciah York here. I actually originally am from Boulder, Colorado is where I was born. And I have two older brothers and a younger sister. I grew up with a single mom, and bless my mother's heart, but she worked her tail off. She, would send us off to school, go to work, pick us up from school, and then go back to work. And so as a young kid, I was always just motivated to try to figure out a way how I could bring more value to the household other than not getting in trouble as a youngin'. And so I sought out entrepreneurship, and I started diving into personal development, and I started reading just different types of books that started changing my way of thinking. Actually, what I was learning inside of these books wasn't what I was learning in school. And so I started to apply this information that I read through these books. And by applying it, I started to be able to turn that into income. And that transformed my life. And it's been quite a journey. I actually moved out at a young age from Colorado to California to pursue sports. I was finishing my senior year of high school, and I wanted to go to the big leagues and go play professional ball and build a business on the side. That was the dream and the goal. I quickly found out I had to get good grades in order to play sports. And so that was tough for me. And I just wasn't excited about what I was studying. I also learned quickly that I probably wasn't going to become a professional athlete, right? At some point in life, you have a realization, a reality check, and you have to pivot. And so I pivoted, and I decided to discontinue that passion and just go full on into business. And it's just transformed my life. I've been able to work with a few different companies, and fast forward now today, now the co-founder and the chief growth officer of a 20-year-old brand called DreamTrips. And this is an amazing company that allows people to check items off their bucket list, see the world, get incredible discounts in the travel space, and really go out and create memories and experiences that last a lifetime. And it's fun being able to be a part of the expansion and the growth of this company as we've just relaunched. So a little bit about myself, and excited to be here with you.
That is awesome. I just love it. Just the point of you saying, like not being in trouble and all of that. I have 4 kids of my own, 8 grandkids now. So I understand your mom's side. But yeah, going out there and doing it. But Chief Growth Officer, that is just amazing. So let's just jump into the Aloha framework. Aloha, like you said, you are here in Hawaii. What God gave me in Aloha was the affirmations and actions, leadership and love, overcoming obstacles, health and healing, and the acute awareness that He walked me through when I was going through the toughest time of my life, going through the domestic violence and all of that. I was talking to people and telling them my story, and they're like, Michelle, you need to share this with others. It can be that bridge for so many other people. But I didn't know how to write it. I never wrote a book before. I actually didn't want to tell my story, because domestic violence is hard to hear. And I didn't want it to be where I was like talking about all the old, hashing out all the bad stuff. So I asked God, Lord, you need to help me. How do I do this? And He said, I gave you everything in Aloha. Being born and raised here in the island, I was like, I don't understand. I know what Aloha is. I grew up with Aloha. I lived Aloha, but how does that work? But when I wrote it all out, I could see what He was telling me and how He showed it to me. And I was like, wow. And now I'm able to share it with the world. I've been speaking to people through my podcast, like in Saudi Arabia and Spain and all over. And so I thank you for being on here today. But let's just dive in and let's hear more about how Aloha is working in your life, and we can hear more about you. You started your journey at 18, wanting to be a leader worth following. What belief about yourself and about God has anchored you through this very season?
Well, I think there comes a point in time where you start focusing. At the beginning, it was I wanted to build a business. I wanted to make money. I wanted to help my family because I didn't have money. And early on, you realize that you need that to do certain things in your life. But later on, you realize once you've accumulated a level of success, it wasn't actually the money you were seeking for or seeking for to fulfill internally. Yes, it makes life easier when you don't have to worry about, certain things financially, but ultimately, eventually it starts to become about purpose and meaning and passion and serving other people. Because when you lead with servant leadership and you lead from a standpoint of how can I help others, right? And this we learned through scripture from Christ's standpoint. He did not come to be served, but He came to serve, right? As we read in the book of John. And so I quickly just started to, you could say, transform as I dove deeper into the Word of God. And as I dove deeper into just new pieces of information that helped form my perspective on life, it really does become about purpose and your meaning. And so what's grounded me and anchored me throughout this season and throughout, the last few years is out here just doing God's work, serving Him to the best of my ability. And I believe I'm able to do that successfully through giving the gift of travel. And why is travel special, in my opinion, is because if you can get out and see the world, and if you can meet other people and learn other cultures and try other foods and experience different languages, you'll better understand other people. And the better you understand other people, the more of a peaceful world we'll live in and more open doors you have to be able to spread the gospel, to be able to share the good news, to be able to impact people's lives. And so that's why this journey is a little bit different. Yes, I have big financial goals, and yes, there's many things I look to achieve, and we look to achieve as a company to be able to help others achieve their goals. But the bigger picture is understanding God's purpose for you in your life. And sometimes it takes time to get there. Not everybody realizes it as quickly as others. It took me some time to get it. But if you seek, He will show you open doors and He'll guide you towards what your purpose and what your plan is. And then when He tells you, you have to act on it and move quickly on it, which I know you've experienced through this incredible podcast and your story from how you've gotten to this point as well. And so I stay anchored in just knowing that I'm out here doing God's work and I'm enjoying it. It's fun. It's travel. So there's nothing better than that while spreading God's word in the gospel. So it's been a journey, and we're really just getting started.
That's incredible. My husband and I, we travel a lot also. And that is one thing I tell people. Being born and raised here on the island, I used to think that I used to live on a rock, but I travel the world now and I see how big the world is. And
Mm.
it's still, no matter how far I've traveled, I just see it as bigger and bigger. You just want to explore more and more. So I just love it. Traveling, it just expands. It's expanding my mind. And when I speak to other people about it, it expands theirs. So as I speak to other people, I see them wanting to travel more. So that is just amazing. Sharing that with everyone, right? That is great. So what lie about success did you have to unlearn early or it would have destroyed you? Because I know that as we grow, as we go along, there's things that we have to unlearn sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we all unconsciously come up with limiting beliefs,
Yeah.
things that we tell ourselves that may not be true, but we tell them over and over and over and over again that they become a reality in our life. And there's ways to overcome these limiting beliefs. One of them is through your first statement there, which is affirmations, proclaiming, telling yourself a different story. If you're going to lie to yourself that you're unable and unworthy to become successful, you might as well just flip the switch and lie to yourself and tell you that you are able to do it, even if you don't believe it. And by doing that, you can rewire programs that you've, built into your system, your subconscious early on in life. But it takes consistent work. For me, it was believing I was capable of winning. I don't come from money. My family doesn't come from money. There wasn't anybody there who consistently encouraged, to be a big thinker or to be a big dreamer. I grew up in a small town. Much of the kids from that town still live in that town, which is okay. But, they just didn't have big goals to go out and achieve life. I didn't actually meet my father wasn't in my life. I didn't meet my father until I was roughly 25 years old. So there wasn't that father figure there to kind of mold me into this is the path to take. I had two older brothers who were troublemakers. Okay. It would be okay if I said that if they're watching here. Okay. You already know what you did. Right. And so I knew I didn't want to do that. I knew I didn't want to get in trouble, but I just was kind of lost on, could I really become successful? Is it actually possible for me to make the kind of money that I want to make to help the people I want to help? And that was tough to intake, but also to overcome, which I eventually did. And we still have battles that we fight, but you mature through them and you grow through them. So I would say for me, biggest lie that could have destroyed me was stop believing that it was possible. Because the moment you stop believing something is possible, that's when things start to shift in a downward spiral for most of the case. And so keeping that belief and believing in the people who believed in you as well is essential. So
Well,
that's
that's
what I
so
would say.
good.
Yeah.
Believing in the people that believes in you. That is so good. So leadership and love, the L in Aloha, servant leadership crosses cultures. Like you mentioned, excuse me, Jesus led the way that he did. I always tell people, if he didn't show the disciples like he did, where he was like washing their feet, you know, going to that point, and they're like, no, no, master, you can't do that, but he showed them that this is the way you lead. This is how you lead. You lead as a servant, right? You first have to lead that way. And I'm like, that is the way that we should lead. You've led teams across the US, Europe, and Asia. What does leadership look like when love, not control, is the foundation?
Well, there's a difference between servant leadership and leadership. Raw leadership is typically applied with force, demand, and more of an energy of do this for me. I'm the leader. I'm the boss. I say what goes, and you're supposed to just kind of follow. Servant leadership is much different. It's much different energy. It's pulling people up with you. It's leading from the front. It's understanding that it's actually not about you, but it's about the team. And so as I've traveled around the world, I've lived in multiple different countries, been able to pick up different languages. One thing I have learned is everywhere around the world, people are pretty much all the same from a standpoint of they want safety for their family. They want to be healthy, right? They want their family to be healthy. Everybody wants a certain level of financial success for them to be able to take care of their family. They want to be able to do the things that they enjoy doing, whatever that may be. And so when you lead from a standpoint of understanding what's in it for that person and what is their motivation, that opens the door for you to properly show them a way versus just telling them a way. You can show them a way with their permission. And so, leading with love, I would just come from a standpoint of, first of all, always having integrity with what it is that you're doing, but understanding what is in it for the other person. Why are they wanting to become successful, or why are they wanting to maybe get in better shape, or why are they wanting to go on this spiritual journey, and understanding what the root cause is? Because once as a leader, I can understand what the root cause is, then I can help show you a platform on how to achieve that success. And now it's your buy-in versus me over here trying to force you to do something. And just on top of that, it's always leading by example. One thing I pride myself on is never telling somebody to do something that I'm not willing to do myself. And so it's just such a blessing and a beautiful thing as you travel Europe, Middle East, Asia, Africa, all around the world. People have needs and they have wants, their desires. And when you express how much you care about those things, there's a saying, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care about their situation. And when you lead with that type of heart, you can lead people successfully and they'll follow you as long as you're worthy to be followed.
That is so beautiful. I love that. I speak to so many people, and I think that's one thing that I find that people forget about that part of leadership is the leading with heart. They force, they push, they pull, that part, and when you said lead from the front, that is so good. So good. I love it.
And I will also say, leadership should be firm. Leadership should be something that is respected. Nobody wants to follow like a soft leader as
Yeah.
well. And so leading with your heart, leading with love doesn't necessarily mean leading in a soft, not knowing where you're going type of energy, because people want to know first, where you're going and you have a plan on how to get there. And when they can be confident in that, they'll follow you as well. And so I think sometimes, even in a world today where there's a lot of conversation about masculinity and all these different types of conversations, I think it's important for true masculinity, I believe, is knowing how to lead with your heart, knowing how to lead with love in a confident way that allows other people to follow you. So, yeah, it's a great question.
So good. So, why do you think most leaders lose people instead of building them?
Why do leaders lose people instead of building them? As a leader myself, you can't want, first I'll say this, you can't want something more for somebody than they want for themselves. This is why it's important to find out first what is in it for them, what is their why, what is their mission, what is their purpose, what is their goals. Because once you get that information, you can lead them properly. Now, a lot of leaders make the mistake of not identifying what those key motivating factors are. And so instead, they'll just push on them and say, okay, this is the job, do it, right? And some people follow that appropriately, but if we're trying to increase our retention of the people that we're working with and not letting them fall off, if we want to increase that, then we need to make sure we're being diligent about keeping their reason why in front of their face and always leading with that, the bigger picture, the bigger goal, what's in it for them. It's not what's in it for you. Because, another thing is energy speaks much louder than words. And so if people can feel that you're coming from a standpoint of, I'm telling you to do this because it's going to benefit me, they will quickly realize that and they will quickly follow somebody else. But also as a leader, if you're not doing the do, if you're talking a big game and you're not backing it up with action, people aren't going to follow you. I'm not going to follow somebody who gets on stage and is a great speaker, but then behind closed doors, they're not preaching, not living the life that they're preaching. And Michelle, a mentor of mine, once told me that time either promotes you or it exposes you. And so why is this so exciting and fearful for some is because if you are just doing the right things, if you're leading from the front, if you're caring about people, you will eventually get promote it. However, if you're a leader who's just coming from a demanding standpoint, you're telling people to go work hard, but you're taking days off, you will eventually get exposed. And so I think that, doing what you said you were going to do, caring about people and leading from the front, as I've mentioned, will increase your attention. Not doing that, you're going to have people, you'll look behind you and there won't be too many people following you.
That is so true. That is so good. When you say you look behind you and you won't see people following you, that is so
Yeah.
true. So the O in Aloha is overcoming obstacles and faith under pressure. I there's so much in life that causes that pressure. But what was one leadership season that truly tested your faith? And how did God meet you there? Because people go through so much. I would love to hear what was one season that tested you.
Man, I have many seasons that I have been tested. It's a, constant test. It's just they say a new level is a new exposed devil, which is trying to prevent you from getting to the next step. And so there's always going to be something there that is going to test you. But I've been in many different journeys of my life. I can just tell you I was fairly young when I first got started in the industry and I didn't have a vehicle. I was wearing a suit that was way too big for me. It looked just embarrassing. I was a senior in high school and I was working a full-time job while playing sports and working my side business. And I'll never forget. I walk into work. They decide to close down the shop. Bicycle got stolen that day. I rode my bike about an hour to work every day. It's pouring rain. I'm now having to walk back home. And I remember just walking in the rain, thinking to myself, like, I don't know if it's ever going to work out for me. And I remember getting a phone call from my father that day, and I hadn't spoken to him in years. I didn't meet him until later on, until I was about 25. But I had a couple phone calls with him, and he, that same moment, was homeless, and he was laying on the ground in the streets, crying to me on the phone while I was walking home in the rain after my job, just got shut off, and my business wasn't going the way I wanted it to. My bike just got stolen, and I'm having to kind of comfort my father in his situation. I just remember being in that moment, really asking God, like, why? I'm sure we've all been in positions before where we're like, why me? Why this? Why now? How could this happen? Not having a clear vision of a breakthrough, not being able to see clearly what the future looks like, not knowing what's going to happen next. But and there's been many. I could have a laundry list of different things, and for some this might be minor. For others, it could be major for them. But for me, at that moment, it was just a breakthrough. And now looking back at that, I'm so thankful for that moment, right? Because once you overcome the challenge, you become extremely grateful for it because it helped define and strengthen your character. Like Michelle, you've been through some things in your life, right? That now, of course, it would have been better to not go through those things. But on the other side of it, it's strengthened you to a certain degree. It's opened up new levels of a relationship with God that you've now had to be dependent on. And maybe you wouldn't have been that deep dependent on him had you not gone through some of these things. And so I say the same thing for anybody watching and even for myself is when you're going through those obstacles that seem like it's quicksand and you can't get out of it, just know God will never put something in front of you that you cannot overcome. Typically, it's a great reason, an excuse for you to depend on him and to lean on him and to seek him. And he will pull you through. And when you pulls you through, you will come out stronger. And so this is a beautiful thing because now you look at obstacles different. Now when obstacles come through, now when life hits, when things hit the fan, you're able to, oh, okay, this is a growing moment. May not know how I'm going to get through this, but I know when I come out the other side of it, I'm going to be better than I was when I went into this. So obstacles, I love obstacles. I love obstacles. I welcome obstacles.
Yeah, because I've gone through a lot, I look at obstacles not as walls that they used to be. Now I look at them like stepping stones because now it's like you just know it leads to something else. It leads before they were walls, right? You're like, oh no. But now I look at obstacles like stepping stones. It's just leading into something else. So, so good. So good. So I know you already spoke on all of that. And to hear that story, I can just imagine how hard it was already for you to be in that situation. And then knowing where your father was, that is hard enough. But then, like you said, it builds character, right? It builds you up. I just posted this thing on Facebook. And I love the way that God orchestrates things sometimes for me. And I can never explain it. I mean, why do we want to try to explain God? But sometimes I want to know. I'm like, how do you know this stuff? Because I was in this thing and I'm having all kind of medical issues. As you can see, I'm now wearing a heart monitor. And I didn't post anything on Sunday because I was just feeling these emotions, right? I was like, no, I'm just not going to get online. I didn't even like post anything. But then um I get on and I see this thing about the generational kind of, I think what they call it was parameters that happens. And people, like when they're talking about like those generational curses that happen upon us from back then before we were even born, right? And I believe that what you're doing is that you're breaking those curses that happened from way back when. Like you said, you didn't even know your father. And so things that were upon you, and it's in the, we see it in the Bible on how that was. We don't know about them because we weren't there. We weren't there. We didn't know that we carried them. But then now we're like walking in it and we're like, why is this so hard? And then you're like looking at, when you start reading the word, you're like, I know, but I see what you're doing. And like in that moment, God almost showed you,
Hmm.
I'm going to get you through this. And he walked you through it. And now you're standing in it right now. So powerful to see the works that God has actually brought you through. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, he's a good God. And you look at the book of Job and you see what he had to go through and how he remained faithful through a terrible experience, life experiences. Probably one of the worst things that could happen to a human being in the history of mankind happened to Job. Life, totally flipped in a moment's period of time. And God blessed him through his faithfulness, tenfold actually through that process. And also I think it's important to note that we don't live in a perfect world. So to believe that things are just going to be smooth is a little bit naive. There is going to be challenges. You can almost expect there to be challenges and to be change and to be obstacles that are going to come into your life. And so being aware, self-awareness is key, because when you're aware of something, you can prepare and maneuver the way you need to maneuver. But understanding that life is going to happen, you can equip yourself. And you equip yourself by becoming spiritually sound. And you do that by, getting in scripture and surrounding yourself with positive people and intaking positive information and going to big events, listening to podcasts like yourself, listening to your story, and equipping yourself. So that way, when something tries to knock you off, you're prepared for it and you're ready for it. We don't take in this information for the moment when we need to apply it. And so it becomes kind of like a game, and you don't have to worry so much. You move different, you flow different. One, because God is on your side, but two, is you're aware that things are going to come up. And when they do, it's like, okay, this is my opportunity to, overcome. And so it's a beautiful thing.
So good. So the H in Aloha is health and healing. And back when I was in the domestic violence, I realized that I carried a lot of the pain and all of that in my weight. I was like 250, 225 back then. And it it manifested in my weight. It was horrible. I was like, how did I get here? You're like, how did I end up here? But as I started healing, as I started looking at myself, I lost a lot of that. I gained back some now, but it was so good to know that God walked me through that health and that healing. So rhythm over hustle. I love the way that you say that. You often say rhythm matters more than hustle. How do you protect your mental, emotional, and spiritual health while building globally? That must be difficult in itself. I'm here and I try to do everything just as a solopreneur on my own and work a full-time job. So, like, let us know, because I know that there's a lot of people out there who's wondering.
Yeah, well, both are necessary. Creating rhythm, staying in rhythm, and hustling are very much both need to be intact. However, the hustling becomes less daunting when you're in rhythm. Because if you're not in rhythm and you're just out here hustling, you may not get so far. It's like those people I see in the gym all the time. They're in there, they're out there, they're doing stuff, but they're just not being effective with what it is that they're doing. I've been going to the same gym for many years, and I see many people that they stay the same. And maybe that is okay for them, and maybe that is their goal. I don't maybe think so, but you can hustle, not be in rhythm, and not get the results. And so they go hand in hand. Michelle, for me, it's about systems. I need a system because if I don't have a system in place, there's a good chance I'm going to fail. For example, if I did not make a note of today's podcast and write it down in my planner and set an alarm for it, I probably be there's with all the stuff I have going on, right? I could have potentially missed it. Same with the gym. If I don't write it down and set a goal on when I'm going to get into the gym, there's a good chance I'm going to miss it. And so one thing that's powerful about systems is it pushes you past your natural human instinct, because your natural human instincts were given to you to keep you safe and to not push you past your comfort zone. Your natural human instincts are the ones that say, just take a sit on the couch, just relax. You deserve a relax. Just sit down. Don't do anything. Just eat the cake. It's going to make you feel good. Just eat it, right? These are natural human instincts. Now, natural human instincts are also important because if you're getting chased by a lion, okay, you need your natural human instincts to kick in that say, run or hide or jump or do something. So it's important to have and to be aware of it, but it's also important to manage them properly. And you can overcome natural human instincts by having systems. And so for me, I'm busy. I'm a full-time student. Also, I'm actually in the process of getting my master's degree in biblical counseling. I run a global business, 120 countries. I serve at my church 2 days a week for our young adults and our online service. I also help take care of my grandfather, who's 95 years old. He lives an hour away from where I live. And I run a young adult mentoring business. That's why I work with young adults, and I have several private clients who I meet with once a week. I also got a little niece who I take care of every once in a while. And on top of all of that, I strive to stay in the gym and get my workouts and enjoy my life and go out and have fun. So you may say, well, how the heck are you able to, take an hour out or to get everything done? It's simple. I have a system in place, and I plan my day before my day begins. And I take the emotion out of doing the thing, and I just do it regardless of how I feel. Because your feelings, you cannot live your life based off of how you feel. If I decided, okay, for those watching, if I decided I was going to go to the gym only when I felt like doing it, I would never go. Why? Because I don't ever feel like going to the gym. I mean, maybe sometimes, but most of the time I don't feel like doing it, but I do it because I know the outcome. And every time I do it, I feel good and I feel glad that I did do it, but I schedule it. And so this will be my last tip I would suggest. And again, this creates rhythm. This creates flow. When you're in rhythm and your flow, you create confidence. When you have more confidence, you'll be more effective in your hustle. And so one thing I do is I plan my day before my day begins. So I never go to sleep without planning my next day before it begins. I never start a month without planning the month before it begins. I never start a year without planning my year before the year begins. And so what this does is, for everybody watching, I challenge you to do this for just the next 7 days, is go to sleep and plan out exactly what you're going to do tomorrow. What time are you going to wake up? Do you need to drop the kids off? Do you need to go to the grocery store? Are you building a side business? What are the time you're going to work that side business? Do you need to get in the gym? Do you need to make, lunch for your children? Whatever it needs to be, just plan out your whole day. Because what this allows you to do is it allows you to operate from a standpoint of checklists. Now, this works for me. It may not work for you, but it works for me. So now I wake up in the morning and I just check things off of the list. And of course, life happens sometimes where you need to adjust. And when you need to adjust, you adjust. But what I do is I plan my day as if I'm the CEO of a company, and I'm going to plan my employees' day tomorrow on exactly what they need to do from the time they wake up to the time they go to sleep. I'm the CEO. I'm planning their day. And then I wake up in the morning and I just live that plan like I'm the employee. And it allows me to be effective. It allows me to get things done. And it allows me to do what I need to do with the time that I have. So long answer to your question, but rhythm creates rhythm for you. That creates flow. When you're in rhythm and you're in flow, you're confident. And when you're confident, you'll be more effective with your hustle. But you need to still hustle. Okay, hard work is essential. You need to put in time to creating that which you're looking to build, whether it's a business, whether it's a project, whether it's your physique, spiritual time. For example, prayer, spending time, scheduling time to get into the Word of God is essential to do, because it's easy to say, oh, I don't have time for that. I don't have time to get in the scripture. I don't have time for God, even though it's like the complete opposite. When you don't have time to do any of that other stuff, you prioritize that.
Right.
He'll clear the whole thing else out. But that's a whole different training. So yes, rhythm, hustle, both are important, but you must get into rhythm in order to make your hustle more effective.
That's so good. And it's, how you mentioned about being effective. You can be doing all the stuff and not be effective, right? So there's that busy work where you think you're doing a whole bunch of stuff, you're doing all these things, but where are you going with it? It's not going anywhere because you're not being effective. And planning your day out. I have so many things, and people wonder, how do I do all of that? And like I said, I go to work and I have spots in my day at work, and I'll pull out my computer and I'll still do things because you have time, right? There's time. And, my coworkers, they look at me like, what are you doing? And I say, oh, because I have work, right? And so it's funny how they don't understand, but I tell them, if you want anything, if you're planning on something like I write books, I do this. If you're going to plan anything out that way, you have to make time for it. You can't expect it to just happen. It's not going to just happen. Books don't write itself. Things don't happen by itself. You have to actually make time for it. And I love that you say plan your year out, because that is one thing that I am now encouraged to do, because I didn't do that where I planned the year out. So looking forward to the whole year and knowing what I have to do ahead is so much better. And it does. It almost gives you more freedom, because now you know what you're doing. You're not struggling the next day, what am I doing? And looking for, do I do this? Do I do that? What am I doing today? You're more organized. You got things on that checklist, and it creates calm, it creates more freedom, and you're able to do a whole lot more in the same 24 hours that everybody has.
That's right.
Nobody else has more than 24 hours. You still have 24 hours.
And if you do, let me know, because I would love some more time. That would be very nice. I tell people you cannot manage time. There's no such thing as managing time. We all have 24/7, we all have the same amount of time in a day. But what you can do is manage what you do in the time that you have.
Yeah.
And if you can better manage what you're doing with the time that you have, I think we can all agree, we all doom scroll. If we just spent the time on our cell phones doom scrolling as we did in prayer or in scripture or in putting in those extra calls for your business, or even just paying attention to the children running around, you would have better relationships. You would be more successful. You would learn more. You would grow more. And so becoming an expert at that is something worth working towards. Now, I think it's also important to note it doesn't happen overnight. And so you cannot wake up tomorrow and just think all of a sudden things are going to shift. It requires consistency. Requires you to consistently do it. But you got to look yourself in the mirror and say, am I willing to change? Do I really want change? Am I really looking to create breakthroughs in my life? Because if the answer to that question is yes, 100% there's a way. Because there's somebody who's been in your exact same situation who's done it. Now, they just started doing the right things sooner, or they've been doing it longer. And now all it takes for you is to lock in, start today, start planning your schedule. Things will come in where you need a shift, and that's okay, but you get back on track. Give yourself grace, okay? Stop being so hard on yourself when things don't go the way they're supposed to, and keep going.
Yeah. And I always say it's those incremental steps, those small shifts that change the trajectory of your life. You can't just expect to do some gigantic leap. You have to start somewhere, because people wait till things are perfect. People wait until things are like just right in order for them to make that first initial move. But they just have to start someplace, you know? I always tell people that I started my podcast just with those little earbuds or whatever, and I was talking on my phone, and you just start someplace. You know, people tell me all the time, oh, but I don't have the equipment. I don't have this. I don't have that. I said, I didn't either, but you start someplace. You just have to start. So that is so good. All right. So the last A in Aloha is acute awareness, health and healing, acute awareness, purpose-driven travel, and DreamTrips vision. DreamTrips. I have to say, I love DreamTrips. Tell you my little story about DreamTrips. So my husband and I were engaged, ready to get married. He planned out our whole honeymoon and everything, going to Rome. After Rome, we're going to Africa and going on a safari. And that was like a dream for both of us. Before we even met, was to go to, like just see the Colosseum and do all of that and go to Africa and go on a safari. So that's why we planned that for our honeymoon. And one of our friends who was in DreamTrips and they were talking about it, they said, oh, where are you going and all this stuff, and explained the whole thing to us and said, take a look at this and see the price on it, right? Compared to what you already have scheduled out. And my husband looked at that and he couldn't believe, because it was just such a drastic difference in price and everything, because he had to schedule out like the guide and all of that compared to the DreamTrips going to Rome. So he didn't believe that it was true. He was like, no. But I already signed up for DreamTrips because I just loved the fact that I was like, it sounds so amazing, right? So I already was there. And so I just had to get him on board. I mean, I say my husband now, but he wasn't my husband then. We weren't married, of course. And anyway, he looked at it and he was telling me, okay, so you mean that if I cancel this and go with this is how much, and we were saving like thousands of dollars now just by canceling it. And I said, I don't know. I don't make up the numbers, but it looks right? Because that's all I could say was, I don't make up the numbers, but it looks right. So why don't you just try it and see what happens? And so he did. And we were just blown away. We were so amazed. We went to Rome and we saved so much money. And so we were able to just buy so much more stuff and do so much more of the luxury stuff that we did in Rome, in Africa, with the money that we saved. But it was crazy. It was crazy fun. Met a whole bunch of people. But yeah, sorry to just jump in on the dream trip thing and you didn't even know about it. No, but I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
But let me ask, okay, as the co-founder and the chief growth officer. What is your heart behind the DreamTrips relaunch and beyond travel? What is that?
Yeah, well, I just am passionate about travel. I think that, if you if you if you look at, a family's household, or if you look at anybody's motivation, once you get past, building and getting the money monkey off of your back, and even in the midst of doing that, people want experiences. People want to get out and they want to see the world. And so I just love that we get to do that. I mentioned this at the beginning of the podcast. It's giving the gift of travel, and it's touching people. It's bringing people together. I really do believe this, that if more people understood other people's cultures, we would have a more peaceful world. And there's so much more to see than just your backyard. And I've been blessed to travel the world. I've been blessed to live in different countries, as I mentioned, as I alluded to. And internally speaking, what it's done for me is priceless. And it's something that everybody should strive to experience. Even just here in the United States, there's so many beautiful places to see and experience, let alone the world. And if you look at what Scripture tells us, when God, gave us the Great Commission, right? The Great Commandment to go out and make disciples to the end of the earth, to all nations. Obviously, we do that in our backyard first, and we do it locally because there's many people just in the backyard who still are waiting to hear the good news and have that come into their life and transform their life. But we're called to go to the end of the world. And so I just love what DreamTrips does. Obviously, as a company, as a co-founder and the chief growth officer, of course, our goal is to grow our membership base, provide tools and experiences for customers to be happy about, to be excited about, to get great discounts when they're booking their hotels and their condos and their cruises and their flights and their car rentals. Of course, we want to be the best. We are the best at providing those discounts for people. But what's special is seeing the reaction of people when they go to another country and they come back home and they share the story of what the trip did for them, the people that they've met. I can't tell you how many couples have met through DreamTrips. If you are single watching this, just come on a dream trip. You never know. Okay, I can't make any promises, but I know that there's a lot of single travelers on our trips, and there's been a countless amount of marriages. I'm actually we're testing a new product called Dream Weddings, where DreamTrips is now going to be doing weddings for people. And so we have a wedding out in Rome coming up here in just a couple months that we're excited about. And so, as I set the framework for that, Michelle, the heart and the big picture behind it is to give back to communities. We have a program called Voluntourism. And what this is you're able to go on a dream trip, which for the audience, okay, I don't think I've explained what a dream trip is, but essentially it's a curated and a customized experience that's built into a platform that gives you the ability to pick and choose where you want to go, anywhere between Christmas tours in Prague to Budapest, to trips to Egypt, to Rome, to Greece, to Turks and Caicos, to the Maldives, to supercar experiences in Vegas, to Disneyland, we have Mother's Day experiences, hot air balloon experiences. So it's a bucket list back office that you're able to go, click purchase, and everything is taken care of for you. Now, the heartbeat behind it is bringing people together, but making a difference. And so imagine if you could, go to Rome and yes, you have a dream trip, what you would consider a dream trip. But at the end of that dream trip, you were able to go and build a bottle school, where you were able to go and help plant a church or plant or grow a library or plant a garden or paint, somebody's building who needs remodeling, or work with the orphanage, right? Because now, not only are you experiencing the world, but you are making a difference. And so DreamTrips, as a travel community, yes, we want to be and continue to be the world's #1 travel club, offering those experiences, but we really want to make an impact on people's lives. And this is why we have such a powerful product. We have relationships, 20 years in the making as a company, which is what makes it special. And then the opportunity side, where you can really offer somebody the ability to build a travel community. There are those who, of course, just want to travel and see some of the views that you have on that screen behind you and see the world. But there's many people who want an opportunity, and they're praying for an opportunity that can help them financially, achieve the goals that they're looking to do. And so I love that we have that back end aspect that allow people to participate in the product, but also share the product. And then now, not only are we helping people travel, see the world, but we're now helping people create a lifestyle for themselves where they can support each other, they can support themselves, they can maybe walk away from that job that they've been dreading working at, and they can really explore entrepreneurism through our community. So it really is a special thing that we're doing here, and I'm excited to be a part of it and excited to continue to expand.
Awesome. That's so great. So, what makes Dream Trips different from other travel or network models?
Yeah, well, DreamTrips is special. We have, I would first say, we have access to 30,000 different contracts globally around the world. So we are a fully integrated and loaded travel agency. So we have a whole travel agency behind us, and we have 20 years of experience. And so, you couldn't pay for these types of relationships, these relationships that are just built through time. And so we really understand what travel looks like now, but we also understand where travel is going, which is much more customized, much more curated. So we're always ahead of the trend when it comes to that. And our product is just second to none. 20 years being in business, every travel company that has come forward since then have tried to become what Dream Trips is. And so it's just fun to see, actually. Travel is special, though, because people are going to speak about it, meaning if you have a great experience, they're going to tell you. If you don't have a great experience, they're going to also tell you. And so what I love about Dream Trips is we're having great testimonials. The testimonials that we've been able to accumulate over the last 20 years is just unbelievable. If you're a watcher here, I just would encourage you to go Google "You Should Be Here" sign. Type in Google "You Should Be Here" sign, and you'll see that sign all over the world. And then the last thing I'll mention is the team. We have an incredible team. We have an incredible group of leaders that are purpose driven, that have had experience. Our owners and CEOs, Mark and Tammy Smith, they know what it takes to operate a billion-dollar brand. They've made over 60 million as a entrepreneur, so they understand both sides of the spectrum, but they come from military backgrounds. And so they bring that leadership, they bring that discipline. They have a great life experience, two humble individuals. And then we have Jefferson Santos. Jefferson Santos, I don't think there's anybody who has sold more travel than him. And so he was actually the very first Dream Trips member 20 years ago. And so he understands trends, he understands technology systems, how to operate a global brand. That's another thing, is we have a global system. So it doesn't matter where you are in the world, you can build a travel community, you can see the world because of our systems that we have, no matter what your background is. And so, Michelle, there's a bunch of things that allow us to stand out. But I would encourage the watcher. This is probably the most powerful thing I could say, and that is come on a trip. Come experience it for yourself, see for yourself, and I think you'll be able to see why it's special and why so many people are part of the club.
So, what would you say to the person who's listening right now who is called to more but is afraid to start? What would you say to them right now?
Take action, do it.
Just do it.
Be a doer, just do it, right? I mean, get after it. Allow, I think the biggest thing is people hide behind their fear, and fear is actually an illusion. If we understand what the concept of fear, what is fear? First, let's just kind of dig into that. I know we're coming into a close here, but what is fear? It's a false illusion that appears to be real. Fear is a story you tell yourself, and you convince yourself that that story is true before it happens. And so it's an illusion. It's actually fake. Now, danger is real, right? But fear is something that you can overcome. Now, this wasn't something we were born with. This was something we learned. And so overcome it. And the best way to overcome fear is to take action today. Life is short. You only have one shot at living your best life. And so do it today. Start it today. Book it today. Get in the gym today. Open your Bible today. Put some money in the bank and start saving today, even if it's 50 cents, $1, $10, whatever it is. Take action right away. Join us. Come partner with Dream Trips today. It'll be the best decision you've ever made.
Thank you so much, Maciah. Thank you for sharing your heart, your leadership, and your faith with us today. Your message of rhythm, alignment, and your servant leadership is such a powerful reminder that success doesn't have to be rushed. It has to be rooted. And for anyone interested in learning more about dream trips and what is the best way for them to stay connected or get connected?
Yes, so I would first suggest follow us on Instagram. Go to DreamTrips, INTL. We have incredible videos and reels and content that we're constantly putting out there. And then I would personally reach out to Michelle directly. She is directly connected to all of the executives in the company. She's actually working with the top leadership in the company, which is rare. And so you're in incredible hands directly with her. She knows all the information, and if there's any questions she doesn't know right away, she has access to getting the information. So I know she's leading the global brand and launch out there in Hawaii and globally. And so you're in great hands with Michelle. So I'd get directly with her. Follow us on social media, grab her link, contact her through social media, and she'll be able to get you all the information you need.
Thank you so much, Maciah, for being on with us. And Ohana, if this conversation spoke to you, encouraged you, and stirred something inside of you, please share this episode and just leave a review or something. But yes, reach out to me. Reach out to me. I am more than willing then to share what Dream Trips is all about, because I have lived it, I have loved it, and I know that it will make a huge impact on your life. So until next time, God's blessings always, and a hui hou. Thank you again, Maciah, for being on here with us and the Walking in Aloha Let's Talk Story podcast. My name is Michelle Ebalaroza-Kawano, and Maciah York, thank you so much.
God bless you.
Thank you for joining us here on the Walking in Aloha Let's Talk Story podcast. Before leaving, please hit that subscribe button. God's blessings always, and a hui hou.